625 career goals, man.
Yeah, not bad.
Better believe the Hall of Fame
Yeah.
is in the offing.
Yeah.
Jarome Iginla joining us on this edition of Tim and Sid. Jarome, it's great to see you. How much of your Hall of Fame speech 3 years from now or 4 years from now are you going to steal from what you said today?
Oh, thanks, guys. I was just trying to get through today. It was a very unique experience. It was a thrill, to come back to Alberta and do it at home, and so many family and friends, and reminisce with the fans. But I was really didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to start or and go through it. It's something when I was younger, I watched a few people do them, and it was hard for sure and different to go through the first, the only time.
Well, you did well. Trust me, you did from two guys who try and do it every day. You did very well, especially with try and do it, especially with the family on hand. Listen, I know you went to your first tryout without a jersey, without hockey socks, flowing out on the ice. Could you ever have imagined that the career would come to an end with the 15 most goals in NHL history?
No, I couldn't, and I've been extremely blessed. Yeah, and that's a true scoop. I did go on the ice there, and I could barely skate. Could you imagine what I would have looked at? It was my first, literally, I think it was second time on the ice. Got no gear, or I had gear, none of the other stuff. But yeah, it was something that I think back to when I started my career in the NHL, and honestly, it was just to make it, and then to get the chance to play with some of the different guys. It took me a lot of years not to be in awe, and even right to the end. And there's some neat, talented players, and to think of, I was just trying to have a good year and try to have another good year. And if you would have told me that when I started, I would have said there's no chance. And to play for that long, it's a huge thrill. And then 10 years in, it's like, yeah, sure, I want to play for 20 years, but at 2 or 3 years, you're just trying to survive and get regular ice time, and it's a ton of fun, and it's been a great journey, but definitely very, very blessed to have gotten to do those things.
Jarome, obviously, and just because we know you a little bit, and if someone doesn't know you that well, just listening to your speech today, family very important to you. And family's important to every NHLer when you have a career like yours. Mm-hmm. Outside of family, Jarome, who was the most influential person in your career?
Oh, that's a tough question. Yeah, I wasn't ready for that one. Let me think. Outside of family, okay. Well, there's some guys who've had coaches are a big part of our careers, right? It's ice time. It's whether they believe in you or whether they don't. I have a few guys that come to mind for sure. In Kamloops, being with the Blazers, Don Hay, he helped me. I came in when I went to junior. I was a finesse player, and I mean, if I had 8 penalty minutes a year in minor hockey, that was it. And I didn't really have any, I didn't think of being a power forward or anything. And so going to Kamloops, playing with the good teams that we had there, he kind of helped me to develop a little bit of the power forward side, showed a lot of confidence in me. So he'd be right up there. And then in the NHL, Daryl Sutter, he was tough when you have him. He's tough, but he's a great coach, really good person. And, he helped me learn how to compete a little bit harder. And if we weren't going, you weren't playing, or you were really getting in trouble, or both. But some great stories there. And I think coaches have a huge impact on and off the ice, and how a team carries themselves and all those different things. And I really enjoyed getting a chance to play with them. I had other great coaches, but you put me on the spot, and those first two came to mind.
Let me ask you this, because the stories for me are some of the best. And when you're mentioning those names, and we heard Craig Conroy talk, and we heard Marty Gelinas talk, that to me is fun. Everyone talked about your humility, your leadership, your character. Why were all those things important to you and important to show to your community?
Oh, I think getting a chance to play in Calgary, I think we played with some really good groups of people. It's a great sized city, and they have really good leadership here in the community. It's a warm city. It's not too big. It's a neat size. People are into hockey. People are into their sports. And so being involved in the community is, when you come here, it was kind of, the guys before me did it. Ron Stern, Theo was at all the events. It's something that's what you signed up for. You make the NHL, it's part of the deal, and especially in Calgary, you want to play here. But they did a good job. They didn't, it was trying to align us with things that we were into. Each guy has something different that they're passionate about, and sports is something I'm very passionate about. So kid sport is something I aligned with. juvenile diabetes is something I aligned with early too. They got me in because, in my family it was an issue, and so they found ways to find things that are important, good causes that mean something to each player. So I think that helps a ton.
I know you're a St. Albert boy, an Edmonton kid at heart, but can you put into words what Calgary has meant to you?
Yeah, I am. I mean, it's. I feel like the whole of Alberta feels like it's home because growing up in St. Albert, there we come down to Calgary for the tournaments, and they're your rival early, and you watch the Battle of Albertas on TV and all that, and it was really cool to grow up. Some of my favorite place to play besides the Saddledome, everyone loves playing at home, it was in the Coliseum in Edmonton. To go back there and try to beat the Oilers there and have family and friends in the stands, and it was truly awesome. But to get to grow up here in Calgary, it's all you do is you see the on-ice stuff, but we're growing up as we're playing too, right? So playing 16 years, coming from 19, or when I first played that game at 18 to 35 or 6 when I moved, 19 to 35, that's a lot of time, and there's so many different memories. There's lots away from the rink, tons of familiar faces, but you're part of the community, and it's a size, and our kids go to school, you have friends there, they come back here, they're thrilled to see their friends. So it was really, I feel like I grew up here too, and I did learn a lot and experienced a lot and had a ton of fun doing it.
Jarome, what would your career have looked like if the Stars didn't trade you?
Yeah, I don't know. I've pondered that too. I've gotten asked that question, and I think things happen. I believe that the right things happen, and faith and that stuff. But I'm curious too, and I think about it. Imagine, I don't know if I would have got the same opportunity. They were a great team. The Stars were on the cusp of winning. They won. I don't know if they won right after I got in the league or a couple of years later. And a young guy on a team that's Stanley, especially in the old days when they could just add stars and add stars and add stars. There wasn't a lot of room. So I was thankful to come back, be able to play in Alberta, and their rebuilding team. I got a lot of opportunity. I got to be out there on power plays. I got to play, 18 to 20 minutes, and so I got to grow in that way and have confidence and be able to fail. And I had some tough years, my second year, and different stretches. So I don't know what it would be, but I'm happy with the way it turned out, and was thrilled to be here and be close to my family and friends, be able to come down and be a part of. Those, I keep saying it, the Battle of Albertas, but when they're just up in Edmonton, they get a lot of Calgary news too, so they follow it and be a part of it, and it was an awesome experience.
Just going through your history, Jarome, there's so many amazing things. I can't help but bring up, talking to you here, one of the crazier finals I've ever seen, which was 2004.
Yeah.
And the near miss for you guys. What was the more difficult loss, Game 6 or Game 7?
Oh, yeah, that Game 6, I can remember when the crowd was chanting, and it was for the first time, we want the cup, we want the cup. And it was so loud in there. It was a great atmosphere. But to take it back a little bit, it was nerve-wracking, those Games 6 and 7s. And what was different, and I guess going through it now, and I guess that's part of experience, is how you deal with that. It's, you go through the whole playoffs, you just keep working, you stay focused. But it was different when you get to Game 6 and 7 and you're up 3-2 or 3-3, when you're like, we could actually be holding the cup tonight, winning it, ending it. And it was nerve-wracking, and we were in OT lost. That was tough in Game 6 because one shot changes it, right? And everything changes. But it is what it is. It was an awesome experience, and I would do it again. I said that earlier. I would do it again, but it does sting, and I sure wish one extra goal would have went in there for sure.
All right, we go through the agony of defeat. Let's go through the thrill of victory.
Please.
3 Olympics, 2 Olympic gold medals. The memories of the Olympic gold medals. I mean, Salt Lake City, I remember "O Canada" being sung in the third period as you are netting goals. The golden goal from Sidney Crosby. What will you remember most about pulling on the Canadian jersey and representing at the Olympics?
I think the tradition and the passion of the country, and I think it's right from early. You grow up and you get to watch World Juniors on TV. At Christmas time, it's those tournaments, and you just want to be a part of it. And I was very thankful to be a part of those, because those aren't easy teams to make. I mean, in Canada, it's got to be Well, it is. In my opinion, I think it's the hardest team to make out of any of those Olympic teams. And there's so much depth. There's so many good players. And to get to be on those teams, and, you know, I was to walk in the dressing room and be on the same room as Mario Lemieux and Yzerman and Sakic. It was awesome. And to get to play on a line with Joe Sakic and, you know, trying to put that was amazing. And I was a young guy, so that's something I'd never forget. But also, how do you top the one in Vancouver when you're winning an OT? You're winning a gold medal as a team in OT. It was truly amazing. My buddies here are bugging me, and Noodles is giving me a hard time. So I'm having a hard time
to walk away.
Yeah,
Right?
wrong network, Jimmy.
Wrong network.
Oh yeah, he's sabotaging you. He's doing it on purpose.
No, nothing but respect. Nothing but respect.
Yeah, we got love for
Okay,
Noodles.
Jarome, we're going to leave you here in a second, but I wanted to end on this note, because when you became a captain, forgive me, 2003. You know, sometimes a young player crumbles under the weight of that.
Yeah.
And people say that's when you started to play the best hockey of your life, when you put the C on. We might have some situations in Canada where we have some young captains in Canadian cities, in Vancouver, already Connor McDavid down the road from you,
Yeah.
Toronto, not sure what's going to happen. What advice would you give to anyone about being a captain of a Canadian club?
Oh, well, I mean, it's a great honor for sure. It's a challenge. I think to be a captain in any team in the league you have more responsibility. There's no question, but it's a good challenge. And I think that all those guys that you mentioned, obviously they're ready for it. But the biggest thing that comes to mind for me is that there's all the different styles. You know, when I came in, I thought a captain had to be the loud guy or in the room. And you know, there's some unbelievable captains over history, like, you know, Scott Niedermayer, Lidstrom I hear about, that, you know, they spoke, but it wasn't that much. But if you are a speaker, you know, keep speaking. I think it's just the best advice I got, and you try to do, and it's not always easy, is just be who you are, right? That's your style. Whatever that is, that's what it's got to be. So it's easier said than done and stuff as far as staying to that. And, you know, I felt I should speak up more at certain times and all that, and I'm sure I'd love to redo some interviews, or not interviews, locker room talks and all that stuff. But it's a great honor, and all those guys, or whoever they pick, it was a thrill for me. And I had some great leaders too with me on my teams. And you know, Reggie, I played with him for a long time. He's a gritty, strong guy, strong personality. Dion Phaneuf, different guys that were good leaders and great energy. And the guys I mentioned today too, for sure, Connie, Jelly. So lots of help for sure. It's not one guy.
Listen, speaking of interviews, we appreciate the time on what is a busy day, a great day, all class, all the time. Even with Noodles trying to sabotage, you can power through as you always have. Thanks for the time. And when you're
I think the sabotage, now he's being quiet.
Nice. When you're inducted into the Hall of Fame, make sure you stop by the studio. He can't come in here, okay?
Thanks a lot for having me, guys.
Perfect. Thank you very
great
much,
stuff.
Jerome.
Excellent job.
Really